Hello the internet, welcome back to the Waifus. I'm Sefhi, your favorite gambling addict, and today we're gonna be talking about the new character release Flora. Now, I got completely shafted on my pulls. Now, completely, I did 2 pulls and I got shafted. So I was testing on other people's account. As usual, thank you to everyone who lets me log in and test their characters when I get shafted. Which, by the way, this is the first character that I am skipping in NIKKE. Multiple reasons for this, and we could make a separate video, but the TLDR, there are more games coming out that I'm interested in. NIKKE, as much as I love the game, they make really bad characters like Flora, and they don't tell us when they're gonna be finishing specific niches, be it through damage, be it sustained damage, be it the shotguns that they still are quite limited, etc. So for now, I'm gonna start skipping characters that are not limited and not waifus for me, if I don't get them with a couple multis. That said, we're going to be talking about today the complete build for Flora, how to build her, where the skills should be, what cube, what team compositions you can be using, and the overall gear that she needs. All that said, as usual, before we start, leave a like and subscribe to help me grow the channel. And if you prefer a fast build, do not watch the whole video, completely fine, by the way. Skills, level 4, until we get more characters with true damage. When more true damage characters come out, you could be taking a skill 2-1 burst to level 7. But for now, level 4 is more than enough that she deserves, honestly speaking, okay? Best Harmony Cube, like most machine guns. Bastion, if you have max ammo lines. If not, you can go Resilience, because she has a 2.5 second reload time, which is quite long. And you could also be using the healing or the max HP cube, but those are kind of copium unless you're using Crown or Privacy or Admi for a faster reload composition, right? So, Bastion for the most part. And when it comes to the stat priority, max ammo is what takes priority unless you want to go for Elemental for extra CP padding, which again is not really worth it considering that she has almost no usage. Now, that's like the TLDR. Let's actually go into the full review and what makes Flora such a bad character as it stands right now. I was running tests yesterday for the most part, and honestly, it doesn't matter where you put her right now. It's like really fucking hard to justify bringing her into like anything, right? Like literally into anything. So starting with the skill 1, Petunia. This is the second character that implicitly you have to position on specific places, because other units like Crown or even like Nord, you can put them on other places to perform better, but it's not required or mandatory, like I was saying, implicit on the skills, that they have to be on 2 or 4, right? So Flora has to be in these positions just like Rogue. And she will be recovering 1% of caster's final max HP, so this scales well, right? And also increase the HP restored continuously for those 2 characters, stacking up to 5 times. And then after 100 attacks, affecting all electric code allies, she will increase the stack count of moves by 1. Now, there is not a lot of electric characters that can take advantage of this right now when we talk about good units, okay? Because there is Maid Privacy, there is Harran for the copium, Flora herself if you want, and the bad thing about this skill as well is that this is a machine gun, and for those of you who don't know, machine guns will shoot 60 bullets per second if you are at 60 frames per second. Because this is tied to your frames, meaning this will be either double time, so 30 bullets per second, or 60. If you are playing at 60 FPS, this skill will proc like every 1.8 seconds, something like that, whatever it is, 1.6, 1.7, right? If you're at 30 FPS, it's XD. So if you cannot even maintain 60 frames, there is even less of a reason to be bringing her into the battle. So kind of a weird skill that we're talking about this. I will never understand, like I do know why Shift Up does this, but it doesn't make sense when they do it on machine guns for a game that has competitive game modes where they know you can take advantage of this on raids and on PvP in contrast to people who are playing on their phones. So it's kind of weird, but it is whatever, right? This is not an amazing skill unless you're willing to fully invest into her to actually scale this healing. We'll talk about later more about healing, team composition and everything else, but unless you're willing to either get more dupes or fully gear her up and level her skills, not really a great skill. We can move into skill 2. This activates based on the HP on both of the characters on her side. So if these characters, one of them or both are lower than 90% HP, she creates a shield for everyone in the team, right? And if one of these characters or both are full HP, they reach 100% HP, she will increase true damage by 30% for 5 seconds. Now, the problem with this skill is, first of all, it's a 30% at level 10. High investment already, right? And the second issue is that this is not a continuous buff. So you need to go back to below 90% and then above to 100%. You could be going 99, 100 to constantly proc the true damage if you don't care about the shield, which in that case is going to be easier to maintain. But the thing is, there is more characters that can take advantage of a shield than characters that can take advantage of true damage. So this is kind of weird. If you have someone like a Scarlet and she goes below 90, she gets the shield. If you cannot bring her back up, she will lose the shield after 10 seconds. And like I was saying, her heals are not enough to keep up with characters like a Scarlet, like Guillotine, things like that, unless you're willing to like fully well on Flora, which I don't think is a great idea. And then lastly, we have her burst skill, which is Secret Garden. This skill is simple, right? It recovers HP for everyone in the team, and it increases true damage by 42%. Pretty good. In total, she is giving a 70+% true damage buff. The issue, once again, circling back to this, is that there is barely any characters that can take advantage of this. So you would be bringing her right now to battle just for this HP recovery on 40 seconds, and for the consistent HP recovery only to 2 characters on the side. Outside of that, there is barely any uses for this skill right now, and we'll talk about compositions on a second. So for these skills, I will say a 4/4/4 is more than enough right now. If you wanted to use her as a healer, you could go 7/4/7. If you want to use her as a true damage buffer, you could be going 4/7/7. But then again, it depends on the team composition, and as is right now, the characters we have, I wouldn't go higher than 4 on any skill. That's it about skills. What about the cubes, Sefhi, and what about the gear? Okay, let me go to another character because again, I got shafted. If we're talking about the gear, the only thing that you need to worry about, like any machine gun, it's actually to get at least 2 good lines of max ammunition capacity. If you can get this, then you don't have to worry about anything else. Now, if you wanted to get some extra CP padding, you can go for elemental damage. But she's not going to be doing good damage because she's a supporter, a machine gun, and her kit itself has almost no self-buff for herself, meaning her damage is going to be really low, so it's not worth going for elemental just for the CP padding. A couple lines of max ammo, the rest, it's fillers, doesn't matter what she gets. Even if you get charge damage, it's fine, as long as you get your max ammo. Fuck the other ones, okay? Gear, low priority, I wouldn't worry too much. What about the cube, Sefhi? Well, like any machine gun, you want to go Bastion. If you have a couple lines max ammo, you want to go Bastion so she can self-sustain and have almost infinite shooting depending on your team composition, or even infinite if you're using something like Banish. Now, if you are using something like Crown, like Admi, like Privati for fast reload team compositions, you can go Resilience, or you could have a little bit of Copium, alright, and go with something like the Vigor Cube if you want to, or even the Healing Cube that I don't have. So those are great options, but Bastion is going to be the pick to go for. Now, before we move into team compositions, and this is important by the way, we need to talk about true damage characters, because when we talk about true damage characters, where is my website? Hello, sir, here, website, we go into characters. When we talk about true damage right now, okay, true damage, there is 4 characters that will take advantage of true damage, that they are dealing true damage, because a true damage buff doesn't mean the characters are dealing true damage. If I use a Flora with Scarlet is not suddenly doing true damage. So that is the biggest issue we have with this right now, that these buffs don't apply automatically. It's not like attack or attack damage or anything else, right? You have to be doing that. And the only characters that do this damage right now in-game are Clay, Ain, Frima, and Laplace. 2 of these characters, it's a treasure. Laplace and Frima only work with a treasure, and they would be decent options for an actual team if we consider like an iron weak team with 2 treasures, but super expensive. Ain deals true damage on her burst, which is pretty nice, and she actually can make like a semi-electric team composition here that works. And then lastly, you have Clay. Clay is one of the worst characters this year released by far, so I wouldn't even bother with her. It's literally one of the worst characters released this year. No reason to be using her or to be building her, at least as it stands right now. So, before we move into those team compositions, there is barely any units that can use Flora's kit, and they are expensive These team compositions are nothing but copium, okay? They are team compositions that I believe should be mentioned because they could be working if we get more characters, but as it stands right now, is nothing but copium. So let's actually move into here and let's start with the first composition that would be, as you can see, an electric composition with Rogue and Flora on the second slot. Now, this team composition is kind of harsh because when we talk about electric, the compositions are set. And we keep getting great electric units, by the way. Like, we have really good electric units. You have your Maid Brevity, which is already on a composition. You have your Scarlet, that could be in here. You have your Samiranis buffing your main DPSs, and even your Cinderella and your Naga, right? The thing is that Ain is the only one that is going to be taking advantage of Flora's buff on spot 2. And then Crown also will benefit from this because she can constantly proc her skill 2 attack damage on the Royal Attire. Pretty good. And then Rogue also has synergy with Flora for the max HP thing, which is going up and down to constantly get this true damage buff. The problem with this team composition is that you need the burst 2 buffer, and Samiranis, depending what you're using, is gonna be fucked. Because if we talk about B2 buffers, right? Not Crown. If you're not using Crown here, and you put something like Grave, now you cannot use Samiranis. Because Samiranis needs cannot use max ammo. So you're kind of restricted on this. And you need an offensive B2. Because if not, if you're using another healer or whatever you have, right, whatever it is, 20 seconds or even 40 seconds, something like Biscuit if you wanted, there is no offensive moves here outside of Samiranis. This team sucks with Flora in there because the damage you're going to be doing, it's going to be underperforming any normal meta composition. And you're not going to put Crown on a team with Flora because that will be crippling your damage unless you don't care about competing. In that case, do whatever you want. But this team limits way too much what you can do. So the first team is already kind of copium. Now, the other team composition that some people have been mentioning, and I think it's funny, and it actually works, but there is like 0 reasons to be doing this, and it's this specifically. It's a shotgun team with Flora, Leona, and of course your Tove. Multiple things. No cooldown reduction, which our shotgun team is used to not having cooldown reduction. That's fine. The other thing is that you're bringing Flora here only for the stacks on Maid Brevity. That's the only reason you're doing this. Skill number 2, Loving Maid, stacking this attack buff. The thing is, she gets this pretty fast thanks to Tove and Leona anyway. So bringing Flora here just for this, it's a waste of resources. No one is taking advantage of true damage here. So it makes no sense to be bringing her here. This could be like a cope composition later if we get more shotguns with true damage, or if they decide to release treasures that can do that. There is electric shotguns. You have Isabae and you have Maiden that could be used here, again, if they get treasures, which is even a bigger copium at this point. And now let's talk about the composition that is probably the best composition for Flora, but it is too damn expensive. And that would be actually this team composition right here, which is going to be the Iron Wing composition with Summer Helm for the cooldown reduction, with Laplace on the treasure for damage, and your Freeman with the treasure for also more true damage. Now, this is the only composition right now that kind of makes sense because it's like, okay, these two characters will take advantage of Flora. You can bring another DPS for Iron, and you even have your cooldown reduction and more buffs in here. The thing is, with how expensive this team is, why the fuck would you do this? When Friba, even with a treasure, is going to be doing like almost nothing in contrast to doing a normal team, a meta team, right? So for a new player, I could never recommend building like a pure Iron team. It feels like a waste of resources. Again, it feels like this team is the closest we have to a true damage team. But then it's like, okay, with how expensive this is, and considering there is not electro units in here to take advantage of Flora's kit, it's clearly not the intention. That said though, those are like the 3 team compositions right now people are talking about. If I were to put her on any of those compositions, I will put her honestly with my Ain and my Laplace, because my Laplace is built. So I will put them together, but it's a waste to put them. I will not even do that composition considering I can put something like Rem. Now, outside of these teams, since true damage sucks right now, what about as a healer? Is she great as a healer? Well, she has two issues as a healer. The first one is that she only heals two characters on the sides, not everyone in the team. So it's already kind of limiting what you can do, and if you need another healer, or if you're on a level where you actually need to sustain the whole team, your other two characters are completely fucked. However, she does work with characters like Crown, like I was saying earlier, if you need to be proccing these type of skills consistently, right? When recovery takes effects, this will be 100% uptime if you put her or place her besides Flora. So that is nice. Now, outside of those two things, even as a healer, she is quite lacking. To put an example, okay, with popular healers, Miss Marcy is healing more on every last bullet. Okay, at level 10, she heals more. Rapunzel is going to be healing more because she gets healed literally on every shot she's doing. It's half the percentage, but every shot, so it's going to be better. You have characters like Bunny Alice healing more than her and more consistently. Rem has more consistency even while not considering rocket launchers. I'm looking to my notes, by the way. So if you want to compare her to anyone, I would compare her to units like Pepper, like Summer Mary, like Normal Helm. The thing is that Pepper and Mary provide other stuff for your team that right now Flora cannot provide, because Flora is literally doing nothing, okay? And you have characters like Summer Mary that provide elemental damage and also the heal and also even attack for them. So even as a healer, I cannot recommend a pulling for her. Now, all that said, should you be pulling for her? Should you be pulling for Flora and get dupes? Fuck no. Now, it's true that dupes will actually make her better because her heals are based on final max HP, which meaning these dupes can actually help her sustain the team better. But unless you are a well or she is your waifu, it's a waste of resources for most players. We just ended anniversary, so I would not bother pulling for her or do a multi or two, see if you get lucky like I did, and that's it. Like I was saying, this is the first character that I'm actually skipping in the game. I've been collecting all of them, and this is the first time that I'm gonna be like, nah, I'm good. Girls from Online 2 is coming next month. I prefer to spend money there and get some good waifus with fit, rather than Flora that I will never use. Now, all that jumping aside, some closing thoughts, if you will. Shift Up keeps doing the same thing, which is releasing a niche and never finishing it. We did this with sustained damage. There is only 2 characters right now in the game. 3 if you count Viper's Treasure. They did the same with shotguns. We have a team that barely works, and now because we have more supports, Blanca and Nord are going there, but there is still barely any good units for that, right? Same for true damage, sustained damage, all of these different needs that they never focus on finishing. It might take months until we get a full functioning team that can take advantage of this. Until then, Flora will be going really low into the tier list. I have not updated this yet, but most likely she's going into a T3. And again, the only reason she goes into a T3 is because even as a healer, you're not really taking advantage of this. There is like almost no reason to be using her. I could be like graceful and put her on a 2.5 just based on her heals, but even there is so many better options for heals that it's a waste to be using her. So she will be most likely a T3, maybe 2.5 after I keep testing a little bit more. All that said, that's going to be the full review for the newest girl, Flora, the first character that Sefhi, the gambling addict, is skipping. Do let me know if you guys pulled for her, if you were lucky or not, or if you got shafted, and what characters you would like to see for Christmas, because that's most likely where we're heading after this event. Maybe another filler, but we'll go into Christmas afterwards, which should be another 2 new characters plus 4 reruns. So save your resources for that. That's gonna be it for this video. As usual, thank you all bosses for watching my content. Thank you to my supporters on Coffee. Links in the description down below. Good luck with your pool dinner dates. I'll see you in the next one.
役立たずは楽園から追放するのみ。ブランとノワールのショータイムです。天地万物を切るとはこういうことだ。